welcome to episode number 41 of the Darkwing Duck podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for and by lovers of the classic 90s cartoon Darkwing Duck. I, of course, am the terror that flaps in the night, otherwise known as Daryl. With me today, again, I want to introduce one of my favorite co-hosts that's there. He is the fast food that comes back to haunt you. Sergio, how are you doing?
Hey man, doing quite well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Did you catch the latest episode that we were talking about this week?
No.
Well, then this is going to go really well. And also joining us today is one of my other favorite podcast hosts of all time. He is the grade curve that gives you an F. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Whoa, I'm doing pretty decent, you know. I got my cup of coffee on the right side, and on the left, I got a bunch of wires, you know, like for the microphone and all that, so I'm good to go. Man, let's get dangerous. Mm-hmm.
Let's get dangerous. Of course, again, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I go back to the well way too much. We are the NintendoJumpPodcast. It is the week of April Fools, in which we had our entire Discord community raided by Darkwing Duck all of a sudden. That was kind of interesting. So it's carrying over to our actual show, but man, we actually have a few topics for you guys today. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Kevin. What are we talking about today?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Daryl, because we're going to talk about BotW Labo VR. What? Newsflash, and then
this is the hottest of news.
Oh yeah, hot the press. Yeah, so we got that, and then we also got gaming slumps. The one thing that a lot of us have experienced. And then, last but not least, a question from each of us, NJPers. That's all I got. With that being said, Labo VR, Sergio, a.k.a. Lieutenant Surge, take it away.
Hey, so we just heard, actually, like a couple of minutes before we started recording, which is quite convenient.
It's a blessing from heaven for all podcasters. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Super Mario Odyssey and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild are getting VR support, official, and it's coming out in a couple of weeks only, which is pretty crazy.
Did you guys expect this at all? Like, at all?
Absolutely not. I mean, I was so focused on just, you know, playing some Yoshi and then playing Final Fantasy X, X2 Remaster when it comes out mid-April. But then when this came out, I'm like, whoa, what? And now I'm just trying to recollect my gaming priorities now. So that's my initial thought.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, you know, the announcement of Labo VR came in and went, and we didn't really talk about it here, just mostly because we had other things to talk about, and Labo is this kind of side project that they've been working on. It was interesting to see VR for sure, with the Switch basically held up to your face. Interesting, but now they've gone and done it, and they've said, well, yeah, you know, our two biggest games here, yeah, those are supported.
I mean,
I don't know what to say. Like this, I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know if you actually have to hold the thing up to your face, because they have not shown like straps to hold it there, and even like the promo picture has Mario literally holding the thing up to his face. So like this will be really great for that 10 minutes you can do it, but this is the weirdest thing.
Yeah, you know, I was expecting things like this for like the other type of games like Snipper Clips or even 1-2 Switch, like a VR little edition. But like you said, Nintendo's going out with the big guns. I'm kind of expecting to see maybe Mario Kart on VR. Imagine, that'll be pretty intense.
Oh my god,
200 cc of people just be passing out left and right. Yeah.
You know, I would love to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on VR, particularly in Mute City. Oh, as the Blue Falcon, because I still want to play F-Zero again. Oh man,
we're back.
Okay, but
man, all roads lead to F-Zero. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, when you think of VR, I mean, you want to be in the game.
I don't want to play F-Zero in VR. No.
Well,
that sounds absolutely nauseating.
Well, if there's a way for it to not be nauseating, I mean, I'm just living the pipe dream right now with that. I think that would be awesome. You hear Nintendo make a F-Zero VR game. I mean, I will drop everything just for that. No, but for real though, I think it's a great opportunity to showcase the VR. It is very surprising that it's coming out this soon. I mean, just looking at the stuff that like is on their website. I mean, like you guys said, two biggest games with Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, just man, I have to reprioritize my gaming backlog now, and I mean, this is gonna sell pretty well. I can see it selling pretty well, but I'm just kind of curious,
Yeah.
like, how much is it gonna cost? Like, what's the price of it gonna be? Like,
Well, it's $70 or $79.99 for the full kit, and I think you can
Ooh.
get just the goggles. Forget what that is, but it's cheaper.
That's $40.
Yeah, it's
pretty
not that
good.
much.
That is
Yeah.
pretty good actually. Wow. Ooh.
So if you and I was curious about them releasing just the basic kit. This makes it make perfect sense. Yeah, if you
Yes.
just want to play Zelda with VR, with some cardboard and the Switch in it strapped, or I guess held up to your face. Now, I mean, even if the actual Labo kit is not strapped to your face or anything like that, there's going to be some aftermarket things that allow you to do it and just
yes.
kind of hold it up there. So that's almost absolutely going to happen. It's just this is wild.
Yeah, I'm pretty much speechless. I mean, man, oh my god.
And I think it's only gonna go from there. I kind of see alarms like a spectating mode where you can spectate via VR. I
Mm.
definitely want to see something with Yoshi's Crafted World because that game is just beautiful. And
And it plays with perspective a lot.
yeah,
Right.
imagine just watching the stages unfold and develop in front of you via VR. That would be cool. And you know what else? And this could explain a lot of things. This could explain the massive delay for Animal Crossing. Well, not delay, just waiting for info.
Massive.
If it has VR support from day one, I can see it.
Man, that
So, if Animal Crossing has VR, are you ever taking that thing off your face, Serge?
I'll try.
Oh man.
What about Metroid? Like,
Ooh.
you could 1000% do some sort of VR Metroid experience. Now,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that said, VR has a very, very rocky history of, I've been kind of making jokes about it, but it actually has like made people sick and pass out and things when the screen resolution and refresh rate are not exactly optimal.
Right.
And I will say that the Switch screen's resolution and refresh rate are not exactly optimal, so I'm very curious to see how this is actually going to work. And I don't know exactly how hopeful I am for it, but it's definitely cool to see the big guns coming out. Like, that is very interesting.
Wouldn't it be cool to have? Okay, I'm just thinking Super Smash in VR. I don't know. Would that work?
Also sounds nauseating.
Yeah, it sounds really nauseating. Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to keep up with on the TV screen, man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I'm just imagining me as Ness, and then just like PK Thunder, and then like I do that thing, and I don't know, go back to the stage and be able to hit other people. I don't know. It can be a little nauseating. I mean, my personal experience with VR, I used to own a Samsung Gear VR, and I really liked. One of my favorite things to use with it was the roller coaster thing. I love roller coasters myself, and I think just being able to have that experience, with VR is always a fun time. And I mean, just knowing that it's gonna be on Nintendo, like on the Switch, I just.
No, I'm curious how far they're gonna take it. Like, whether they're gonna release it. It's you got a little mode in Mario Odyssey, and you can control the camera with your face in Zelda, and that's it. Cool experience, right, guys? Or if they actually kind of double down on this VR effort and actually start potentially making some games, because one of the actually rather cool looking VR games was this. I forget the name of it right now, but this boxing game, and
Ooh.
basically it kind of looked like a Punch Out game, but you were actively controlling the gloves. So hey, why not Punch Out? I mean, there's a series that's just kind of begging for it. I could imagine some sort of functionality in like Luigi's Mansion, right? Like looking around, trying to actually point the flashlight in the right direction to actually get the ghost. That could be a lot of fun to like. There's a lot of potential with Nintendo games. I'm curious to see exactly how far, how dedicated they are to it, or whether this is just a toy. Which, honestly, I'm okay with if it is. Like, if this is just a hey, this is fun, kind of similar to how the other Labo kits are. It's definitely a toy. I'm all right with that. If it's something bigger, color me intrigued. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, and to bring it as far back as last week, when we discussed a potential new Switch version or hardware, maybe the portable one is gonna have a better resolution, better refresh rate, and even lighter, so it's easier to play VR. I mean,
it's very
we don't know all the
possible.
details yet. Yeah, that could happen.
That would be great to announce at E3. I mean, just like that 1-2 punch. I mean, how cool would that be? Man, Nintendo's always surprising us left and right. This year's been pretty interesting. I mean, just with, we had a really good indie showcase a while back, and now we have the VR kit thing, and I'm like, man, I don't even know. Like,
no, I'll pat myself on the back for that one, because earlier I did say that this year was going to be super interesting, and I've been saying that for a while, just because this is one of those oddball Nintendo years where they're just kind of releasing these random games. For example, Best Buy just had a leak with a ton of games showing up on their website as listings, including Zelda: A Link to the Past, which what? And a few others just like showing up out of nowhere. I don't know. Like, there's some crazy stuff going on, and I for one am super enjoying it. I hope that's coming through. I hope you guys hear it, because I'm really enjoying all these little tidbits that are coming out.
Yeah, definitely. It's always exciting when things like this leak out, and just the potential of playing a game like A Link to the Past again on the Switch. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a remake, but just having it on the Switch would be incredible. And it's, I mean, it's been like rumor city, left and right. Just with all
it really has.
Yeah.
For that one, what I was thinking is, what if it's included with Link's Awakening? Like, if you buy the retail one.
Yeah,
it's both of them, or you can download either one.
Which would be a gigantic mic drop. Like, that would just be like, oh yeah, that Link's Awakening game that you were thinking, maybe it wasn't worth the $60. Oh, it also includes Link to the Past. You're welcome.
Man,
no, I mean, like
that.
I don't know.
I think that's worth $80. I mean,
There's also a rumor that both the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD will come to the eShop fairly soon, and everywhere you look, there's rumors. I have no idea what the validity of any of them is, because every one that comes out seems to be like backed by a really good source with a couple insiders saying, yes, this is absolutely happening, and we're all just kind of sitting here going, really?
And there's a lot, but there's none for Animal Crossing, which is sad.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, man, I've seen a lot of chatter on Animal Crossing lately. People are getting restless. The villagers are starting to revolt, so watch out, Nintendo. No,
pitchforks.
Animal Crossing, I can't shake it that is Animal Crossing is mostly a known quantity. Like, you know what you're getting with it. It would be nice to see it, I agree. But I think that they said, hey, it's coming out. It's coming out this year, and they're perfectly okay with sitting on it, because it's not like you don't have the Smash Brothers hype train of like showing new characters every couple weeks or anything like that, right? Like, Simon Belmont is not coming to Animal Crossing. Well, I mean, he might be. That'd be interesting, but
that would be very. It's like total opposite worlds. I don't know. That's like.
Like, like death shows up all of a sudden. Anyways, no, I fully expect you will see a lot of Animal Crossing at E3. It will come out later this year. I'm standing by the fact that I would be utterly shocked if it does not come out in the 3rd/4th quarter of this year and look fantastic and exactly like the upgrade Animal Crossing that you are all hoping for. I mean, the series has a really, really good track record, with the exception of all the little spin-off games.
I can tell you this, though, on behalf of the Animal Crossing community, if there's another Direct between now and E3 and they don't talk about it, bad things are going to happen.
Pitchforks. Get them.
Whoa. You hear Nintendo? You got to be ready. Just be ready.
You all just start throwing turnips at Nintendo headquarters. Yeah.
Well, Sergio, let me ask you this: like, would you be cool with Nintendo just showing like a 1 minute teaser of Animal Crossing, like just maybe just tidbits of gameplay, just 1 minute?
Yeah, we'll take anything at this point. We want a name, we want a release window, we want the title, the logo, anything at all.
Yeah.
You already got the title. It's Animal Crossing.
Yeah, there you go.
Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival 2.
Whoa.
Sorry.
I'll buy it.
I'm sorry.
I won't play it, but I'll buy it.
Man, that strayed. Anyways, no, VR, very cool. Interested to see exactly how it's gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think if I'm a betting man, I would think it's probably kind of shying more towards this is gonna be the toy, right? This is gonna be something to kind of put on. Hey, that's cool. I can look around in Breath of the Wild, which is one of the prettiest games ever. Awesome, it's great. But I'm interested to see if it does really well. Maybe they actually start like an actual VR initiative. That maybe that turns into something. I don't know. And sign me up on the interested list.
I have to agree with that. It feels like this is a stepping stone to see how well VR can do.
Yeah.
And if it does really well, then they're going to put more effort into it and make it more hardcore, make it more like, oh, wow, you're going to get more of a immersive experience with different games, not just Breath of the Wild and Super Mario. I was going to say Galaxy with Odyssey. Galaxy would be cool too, but it's just man, I hope it sells well. And Nintendo is still driving the movement, the revolutionary, just this thing of coming left and right with different ideas of VR and Labo, and it's just and just the Switch itself. So I'm pretty excited. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it for VR. We're gonna go for more of a not so happy
a downer.
A downer, yeah. And I think with these sort of things, like, this is important to talk about. Like, we've all been, or I'm going to say 99% of us have been through gaming slumps. It depends on a lot of, variables, like whether you have something going on in your life or you're busy or priorities. Like, there's just so many things that factor in, and gaming slumps is a very normal thing. And personally for me, I've been through one earlier this year, but I'm just going to start with Sergio. Can you take us back to one time where you went through a gaming slump and you weren't sure, like, if you were going to get out of it? Like, what was your process, and what was the process like?
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely happened to me, and I think to most of us. Fortunately, I can kind of say that it's been a while, so I don't remember like the last very specific time when I wasn't playing games, pretty much just because, even though it's never really that simple. But one sort of like a sidebar to that is, and this one does happen to me pretty much every year. It's basically during the summer when it's really hot, and for some reason I just don't feel like playing games. I feel like it's just not comfortable or fun. So it takes a while. It takes like a really good game to kind of push me over. Yeah, let's play something. I kind of spend my time doing other things, and there are good games out, and there's always like an Animal Crossing game to play, and it's very difficult during the summer.
Except for right now. Well, time to boot New Leaf back up.
There we go.
Could log my 1500th hour into it. Yeah. No, that's interesting. Kind of a seasonal slump. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Good news for the Nintendo Jump
yeah.
podcast. Stay tuned, guys. as we track an ongoing gaming slump. This will be fun.
No, but that's interesting though. Like a seasonal slump, because I could see that. I mean, like, in your summer, and there's like other things to do, like outdoor activities and all that. So, I think it is feasible to go through seasonal slumps. I mean, but anyway, Daryl, like, what about you? What is your process? Like, what was one time in your life where you were like, oh man, I'm not feeling like playing games today or the next day? Like, what was your process like?
So, I I've got a really small one. I mentioned on the show, and this is kind of an odd one. I mentioned on the show before, when I finished what I was going to do in Celeste, I went through a time where I did not want to play anything following Celeste. Like, I got done with that game. That was
dang.
such a good experience, such a good game. I kind of wanted to just play it more, but I didn't want to just play it more. So I went through kind of a very little mini crisis there. Not a big deal. I made it through, guys. I think mostly with the help of Faerun and a few other kind of smaller bite-sized games, and that's kind of where I jumped to. But the one I want to actually talk about, I actually went through a fairly large gaming slump where I just wasn't playing much. I wasn't excited about much of anything. Didn't really want to play games. I'd go weeks without playing anything. And that was right around the time that they were showing off the Wii U after they had named it and everything at E3. They were showing off the Wii U. And if you remember that time, the Wii led a really, really long life. Like, it was around for a really long time. And something I haven't talked about this much on this podcast, and I'm sure it will come back up, especially now, I was not a fan of the Wii. I really wasn't.
Whoa.
I had the console. I played on it. I enjoyed certain games on it pretty well. But in general, if you look at the expanse of that console, not my favorite. Was not a gigantic fan, although I liked them, but I wasn't a huge fan of the Mario Galaxy games. I wasn't a huge fan of Twilight Princess. Skyward Sword had issues, but I did like it, and that was one of the later games that I played on the system. And there was just a lot of that. Like, I didn't like the control schemes. I didn't like waggle controls in games. There was a lot of gripes that I had. So eventually, I just kind of stopped playing. Then what actually happened, I heard about, I was living in the Carolinas at the time, and I heard about some ongoing Smash tournaments playing in Melee and a mod of Brawl called Project M, which plays more like Melee. It's really fun, actually. So I started going to tournaments again, and I kind of picked that up, so I was playing Smash again. That was kind of fun. And then Skyward Sword came out, and I played a little bit of Skyward Sword, but they showed off the Wii U, and this was the E3 that had the gigantic spider boss demo reel.
Oh yes,
right?
Oh, that was amazing.
It looked pretty cool, but I was sitting there watching it because I was curious, and I was like, yeah, looks okay. I may not get it, and honestly, shout out to my wife. She looked at it and she said, "No, we are getting that. That looks awesome." And so that was kind of what turned it around. Like we ended up pre-ordering the Wii U, and we got the games that came out around launch, which that system gets kind of flagged for having kind of not too many releases, but at launch it had a ton of games. Yeah, I think it launched with something like 20 first and third party games, a ton. But got a ton of games and ended up really enjoying that console. So it's kind of a weird thing that the Wii U got kind of universally slammed, but it almost kind of saved my Nintendo gaming life, as it were. And so that was kind of just an example of a slump kind of caused by just a complete lack of excitement in gaming completely,
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, you've definitely alluded to the fact that the Wii U is a very important console to you, but I never knew like why, and I think this really reveals a lot more of how this gaming slump led you to be more excited about the Wii U and just the events that unfolded. So
it was just fun. I really enjoyed Nintendo Land as a launch title. I think that was a very underappreciated title.
Yes.
I liked the game Tank Tank Tank. I've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
My wife and I played through all of that co-op. It was awesome. Eventually, Hyrule Warriors and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze came out, and my wife and I played through all those in co-op, and there were a bunch of games that came out, such as a really good Smash Brothers and Splatoon of all things, and Wind Waker HD. Like, once that console got rolling for me, it had one of the best first party lineups ever, in my opinion, and I still kind of hold to that, although Switch is kind of taking all of the first party lineup from that system. Yes. And that's okay.
Pretty much.
I'm all right with Switch just completely supplanting it, but at the time I was very happy with the console. I still am. And looking back, that was definitely a slump that turned into a really good time.
That's cool. Did you play Zombie U?
A little tiny bit. I mostly played the demo of it. I did get it. I just didn't play it that much. It was it was a very cool concept. I really liked it until the actual like killing the zombies portion, where it took like 13 hits or something. Like it took way too long to actually kill.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's an exaggeration, but it took a lot of swings of the bat, and ammo was really, really limited. So like you're just running around like, okay, please just die, please, okay, just die, please, and so that it didn't have a really long shelf life, but for what it was a really cool game.
Yeah, I always sort of champion it as one of the best examples of how the Wii U gamepad could have been used, or
Absolutely.
I would say should have been used. Yeah, I'm also curious. So it sounds like you played Twilight Princess on the Wii. You didn't play it on the GameCube.
That is correct. It was the if I remember right, was it a launch title for Wii or was it shortly after? Yeah,
no, it was.
Launch title,
yeah, that was my upgrade game pretty much.
Gotcha. And then I was also curious if you played any Wii games on the Wii U, since you could.
Very few. Again,
oh wow,
the Wii was not my hashtag not my console. It was that was not my version of Nintendo. They were going for an audience that was not me. They were choosing control styles that I didn't like. When they had actually a really good controller, the classic controller was very good, and most games just did not support it. Which cool. Yeah. I guess the upside of the Wii and what I really liked it for was I really did like the Virtual Console. I spent a lot of time with games off that. And the eShop or the Wii shop. And there's a few games on there that I do hold kind of special, but very few.
Man, if only you had played the Dog Island.
Oh,
I have it and have played a little bit of it. I need to get back into it. Oh, I actually do. I want to get back into it. That's a game that I am playing on the Wii U.
that title will always make me chuckle. I don't know. It's just such a cool name, the Dog Island. And I definitely share the same sentiments with you on the Virtual Console for the Wii. I did enjoy some of the games that I got for it, such as F-Zero and, Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars. I had to replay it again. I mean, it's one of my favorite games of all time. So
classic, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Super Mario Kart. That gotta play that again. Yeah. So
I did not end up getting too many games that I had already played. I ended up kind of filling out my list with some games I had not played before. There was a lot on that list.
Sure.
The Virtual Console on Wii was like a ton of games, just from everywhere you could think of. Square was there, Sega had games on there. We had TurboGrafx and stuff. So I played a lot of stuff I hadn't played before. Sin and Punishment was one of them. That was a very cool game. Never released in North America until that point, and just a few others. Like I really enjoyed that system.
But we're still waiting for Tetris Attack.
Ooh,
yeah.
Never happened.
Rest in peace. I would. Well, actually, if I remember right, Pokemon Puzzle League did come to Wii.
Yes, it did.
I was gonna say I would settle for Pokemon Puzzle League, but yeah, I think it did come.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get it because I still have Tetris Attack. But
oh, nice. And another sidebar from my end about game slumps. There's one that I would say kind of even bothers me more than not playing games during the summer, and it's basically playing one or two games too much. Rocket League.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Because what happens is I'm playing just Rocket League or just Rocket League and something else, and there's all of these other great games coming out, and then I'm missing out, and I do feel bad. I do feel bad, but at the same time, I kind of think about, well, I'm playing more time-wise than I have in the past, so at least there's that. But yeah, it takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of patience for me to kind of stop playing just one game or a couple and kind of try more games and kind of try to catch up with what's hot now.
But I think it's admirable, to be honest with you. I mean, just like you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning to play Rocket League. I mean, that's like that I admire that hustle. I mean, just playing and trying to improve like each and every day, playing that game. I mean, like I think that is a plus. being able to stick to one or two games at a time. So, kudos to you for that. So I think that in the sense that is actually better than most situations where maybe there's times where you'll just play a bit of every game, but maybe for an hour of each game, but not really get into it as much. Whereas you're focused on this one game that you want to get better at, that you want to get good at, and I think there are more pros and cons for that. So that's just, at least in my opinion.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm kind of in a gaming buffet right now. I'm trying a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I do that from time to time where like I'll play like an hour of several different games. If I have like an evening to myself or whatever, I'll play a bunch of different games. Somebody will ping like, "Hey, you want to play Smash?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." And then we'll get done, and I'll be like, "All right, time for Final Fantasy," and then I'll dive into Final Fantasy a little bit, and then somebody else will show up. "Hey, Overcooked." Oh, yes, absolutely. That happens fairly often. It's a fun time. So what about you, Kevin? I know this was a topic that we've talked about a lot in our Discord, actually, but what do you want to talk about with a gaming slump that you've gone through?
Yeah, and for those who it's gonna be a little personal, obviously, just because I earlier this year I went through what I call more than a gaming slump. It was just questioning how I felt about video games in general because of the things that I wanted to do in my self improvement. Like 2019, is just a year for me to just to be more of a rise and grind kind of person more than ever, and being able to improve like my Mandarin Chinese and be able to take on more like just different hobbies. Like I took on social dancing for the first time this year, which I never would have thought I've done in previous years of my life. Even though I had friends who did salsa and bachata, and I just this year, like, I had a really awesome coworker. Shout out to Dennis. He awesome coworker, close friend of mine, and he introduced me to social dancing, and I got into that and playing more piano because I wanted to, really make more of a hardcore dedication to it because this is something that I love to do. And so when you have these three things, along with obviously the podcast, you look at yourself and it's like, well, where does video games fit in? I mean, yes, I'm obviously very blessed to do the video game podcast with you guys, but in terms of actually playing the video games, I was at a crossroads, and this was a period of like 3 months, really, and just trying to figure out, is it worth me playing video games on a daily basis or just on a regular basis, maybe just a few times a week. I don't know, and I confided in you guys obviously about it, and like it was pretty. It's pretty tough, honestly, just because, and y'all can relate. Like, video games have made me who I am today, like, for a good chunk of it. Like, learning what it takes to be determined. How do you, like, just and just all the personalities and characters that you get exposed to along the way through RPGs and the challenges and the different kind of emotions like trust, betrayal, depression, sadness. I mean, the list goes on, and so I just was at a crossroads, and I'm like, man, I don't feel like playing video games. Like, yeah, I mean, there were a couple times during those 3 months where, I'll play a video game that was coming out as new just because, I wanted to be able to share and showcase like what it's all about for the podcast and just get my thoughts on it. But in reality, it was like, okay, well, is this my main motivation? Like, do I have space for video games? And then I thought about it for, a few days. And then I just realized, well, you know what? I can make some room, and I want to because this is so important to me. Like, it's not fair for me to just throw away something that I love so much for something that I'm trying to constantly get better at. Like with my Mandarin Chinese or social dancing or piano. Like, there's always going to be room for video gaming, and I think, and so I came at this balance. Like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, and so I've just honestly just dedicated myself to, just getting back into it again and playing, maybe even like a few hours a week. I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. And well, obviously, throughout the whole time I kept up with the gaming news. So with just what's going on, I mean, because as a video gamer, you're always going to be kept up with the news. You want to. I mean, this is what you live for. This is a passion, and I think that's. And so for those 3 months, that was my I don't know if it's a gaming slump or just what was that, gaming crossroads. So that was just my experience, and I don't know how many people have experienced this, but yeah, priorities can do a lot to yourself, and just organizing, trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do, and the conclusion was that I'm back in the game. I love video games. I always will. And I mean, I remember I told y'all like the first day I got back. I mean, I pre-ordered Final Fantasy X and X2. Like I was just like, I'm good to go. And I honestly, every day since then, I've been looking at news about anything about it.
Which I gotta say, that's an excellent choice. That's a game in a series that you love, that you have not played before,
right?
That has now been remastered. It's one of the most loved titles in that series. Excellent choice. I mean, that's like the perfect kind of launching back type game,
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Unless it just sucks and you hate it.
No.
Then we move on. But
yeah, well, and and also I actually haven't told anybody this yet, including you guys, but so I'm not gonna make that news noise. But I was very enamored by one tune from Final Fantasy X, even though I've never played it. Back in college, there's one tune called Via Purifico, or Path of Repentance, and when I first heard it, I fell in love with the tune. Like, I don't even know the premise of how that tune came to be, but I bought the Final Fantasy 10 Piano Collections book at the time, and I just kept playing it until I was able to memorize it, and be able to play to it. And I ended up playing that tune for someone's birthday back in college. It was like my freshman year, and I think that was more of a thanks. That was more of a motivation for me to finally play Final Fantasy X, because tunes like that, it just gets me going. And y'all know, like, I love piano music, and why not? So I know I rambled on quite a bit, but yeah, that's my gaming slump right there in the nutshell this year. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely glad to have you back, as it were. And I think the important thing to remember is, if we are not, a little life pro tip, if you're not continually looking at your priorities and shifting them to make space for what you actually want to do and be, you're doing it wrong. Always just have a look at what you want to be, how you get there. And if gaming is involved with that, great. It's a great hobby. We talk about it every week for a reason. It's a lot of fun, but also don't go at the expense of everything else unless you want to make this your number one thing. And
right. Mm-hmm.
I think I can speak for all of us. We all have jobs and lives outside of this and things like that. That we have to prioritize accordingly, and that has to be okay. You don't. Just because your backlog has 30 games in it doesn't mean that you have to put your life on hold to finish those 30 games while 200 more are coming out, It's all right to just kind of put it down, step away, and then come back when you want to. It's there, Also, for any of our listeners, it sounds like Kevin's in a constant state of questioning, and I'm going to lose Sergio in a couple months here. So, as of right now, applications for co-hosting the Nintendo Jump podcast are now open. Please submit your resumes and cover photos to NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. I will review all applicants personally.
Oh man, what a sidebar. Actually, it's not.
I had to.
Yeah. No. I'm not surprised that you said that. I think it's a good, well played. But yeah, no, I just want to say that I appreciate both of you guys personally, and just hearing about what y'all go through with your gaming slumps. I mean, it's just, we're not alone in all this, and it's great. Just, I've said it before, this whole thing is like therapy to me, and I know it's getting a little personal, but yeah, I think with what we're doing and having video games be part of our lives, I mean, it's just an incredible feeling to have, and I would not trade it for anything in the world. So, and that's all I have for being corny and cheesy. So,
well, I mean, to add on to that, playing games within a community like our little Discord, and talking to people about games and freaking out about Mario holding a piece of cardboard up to his face, and playing Overcooked every Monday because that's just what we do now. It's kind of a magical thing, and it honestly increases my enjoyment of gaming as a whole. So,
yes,
if you are not in our Discord, you are missing out. Sir or ma'am, you need to be in there. If you are in our Discord, know that you guys are appreciated. It honestly, I enjoy it a lot. So it's the best part of gaming for me right now.
For sure.
So how's that for corny and cheesy?
Yo,
there you go.
You know what? You got me. That was good. That was pretty good. Man, shout out to corn, shout out to cheese. I mean, but yeah, it's.
I mean, it's a hard discussion because it's times that you just did not want to be a gamer. But I think I like to what you said earlier. I think everybody kind of goes through it from time to time. Either the games coming out just don't interest them, or life is taking them in a different direction or something. That's fine,
Yeah.
It's fine. And I think just know everybody kind of goes through it, and it's not a terrible thing. It's all right.
Honestly, it's just inspiring to see you, Kevin, or anyone come out of that and say, yes, I'm still going to have my new priorities and my new hobbies, and I'm still going to keep gaming. I can do a little bit of everything. I can, and I will. That's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. No, appreciate it from both of y'all. I mean, this is who I am, like you, me, I mean, us, like we're video gamers at heart, and, we're human. We have our high tides and low tides. We go through waves. I mean, it's it's like my moniker. So, I mean, it's no, it's a really good time to be a gamer right now. And I mean,
oh yeah,
y'all know that I'm excited to play Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. So I cannot wait.
Me too.
There we go.
I'm more excited about that than I was about Final Fantasy 9 for sure, and I'm enjoying that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to 10 a lot, and it's kind of the same story. I actually found the music when I was in college too, and I really liked the music.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I found it through the video game pianist who has a ton of videos out there. I definitely recommend looking him up. But he's done a ton of Final Fantasy 10 music, and it hit me in a really good spot in college. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this game for years. So. Cool.
Awesome.
What is next?
Well, what we got next is the NJP questions. NJP questions. So each of us will ask a question. It could be about anything related to video games or whatever. And Sergio, we're going to start with you. So what is your NJP question?
Sounds good. And mine does have to do with games, at least for this week. So... Yes. My question is, if you have a video game franchise that you like to support, that you really like, and you go out of your way to support it. And what I mean by that is, for example, you buy multiple versions of the same game, even though you're only going to play one, or even though maybe you already play the game and it's getting ported to another system, sort of to introduce more players to the franchise, and you're thinking, you know what? I'm going to buy it just because I like that franchise. I think to give a good example, I can give my answer. That one for me, for sure, Phoenix Wright. Whenever there's a new version of any Phoenix Wright game, any of them, and for the most part, it's only the first three. They're always releasing that trilogy. But yeah, wherever that goes, I get it. I got it on WiiWare. I got it on iOS. I didn't play it on any of those. I already played it on the DS and loved them. But I'm always supporting that series so that more people can enjoy it, first of all, and then so that Capcom, hopefully, if they see sales, they can see that there's demand for it, and we want more new games.
That's great. I mean, the franchise itself is just, it's like unlike anything else. I mean, you're talking about a visual novel game that, really defines a genre in itself, and being able to appeal to a lot of players, a lot of video gamers, and I mean, just with the drama, and just like the quotes like objection, and just all these things that just, it's unlike any other series I've seen. So it is a really good series to support for sure.
I think for me, I have different games for each part of that question. So a game that I keep rebuying for no reason, Cave Story. All day Cave Story. I've bought it so many times at this point. Also Super Metroid. Every time Super Metroid comes out to anything, I have to have it. So
Oh, nice.
I don't know, that I just like it. As far as franchises, or I'll even tie that into developers that you like and want to support, and you buy things that you may not have much interest in. For me, it pretty much anything that Matt Makes Games would do at this point, I'll buy. I got Towerfall. Yeah, I got Towerfall, even though I'm not exactly perfectly set up for a local multiplayer battle arena type game. It is fun, even in a single player environment. It is fun, but I'm not the core audience. But I did want to support the developer.
Mm-hmm.
And then honestly, I buy a lot of Mario games that I don't necessarily have an immediate interest in, because it's kind of twofold. One, I trust that a Mario game is a high quality game, and I think most people do. But two, yeah, I clearly like Nintendo. I know that this is a good indication that they're actually putting some effort into things. So yeah, I'll generally buy into Mario games that are coming out.
Just in case they ever stop making them. Right?
Yeah. Whether or not I have an actual first pass intention of playing them. I did not 100% Odyssey. I finished Galaxy 1, did not finish Galaxy 2. Took me forever to finish Sunshines. I have a weird track record with those games. But I'm super hyped for Mario Maker, so there's something.
Oh, nice.
No, it's a reliable thing to buy, with just the Mario franchise. I mean, it's always going to be quality. I'm just going to say it right now. I can't think of a Mario game that was crappy. and just, or at least the ones I've played.
Let's pause as the visions of crappy Mario games just pop into everybody's heads right now.
No, I mean, there's just something about the Jumpman, somebody, I think that was actually his name before too, right?
Yep.
Somebody just, to keep going to castle after castle, or just all these places just to find his princess, only to find out that she's in another castle or in another area, and that denotes the grind, the beautiful struggle of life. I'm reaching, obviously, but it's
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But yeah, I mean,
I play it to jump on turtles. I just.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I can safely say that the Mario series does not hold deeper meaning in my psyche. I play it because it's fun, pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm just reaching for that a bit, but no, it's a really reliable brand, and and just actually going with me, there are two answers for me on this one. Final Fantasy games. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten Final Fantasy 6. I at least 2-3 times.
Dude, if they would just re-release it a little bit more, I would have a few copies of it too.
Right.
Same with 4. The Game Boy Advance re-release was fantastic. I would buy that again today.
For real.
But I can't.
Oh, I know. But...
I can get a bad remake on iPhone. That's about it.
Ruh-roh. Yeah, and just 4, 6, even 5, and I got Final Fantasy 9 twice. I had in the PlayStation 1, and I got it digitally on the PS3. I mean, even though I played through it and I just wanted to get it again. I mean, I didn't finish it the second time, but I still wanted to own it and be able to go through at least a good chunk of the journey again. And I mean, that game is just incredible. Final Fantasy 9 and just another. Well, I'm gonna go with my second series. Any game made by Chucklefish. I bought Stardew Valley twice.
Fair enough.
I played it on PC, and then when it came on the Switch, I was like, I'm gonna get it again on the Switch. Even though I did not put as many hours, but I did go with a different way of playing the game. Not so much supporting JoJo's Mart, but more so, because this is gonna be a bit of a light spoiler. So in the game, you can try to go for certain people, romance. So in Stardew Valley on the PC, for me, I was going for Haley, and then in the Switch version, I was going for, I think it was Leah, the person who lives in the woods. Super cool. I mean, I was like, yeah, I gotta go a different path because I can't play the same path again. I mean, come on. But yeah,
Especially not with Haley, no.
No. Oh my goodness. I have like literal conversations with like people, like just my friends who barely play the game, and they were like, "Oh, how was it?" I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you how it is," and I go through this like scenario what happened in the game for like 10 minutes straight, and then just like, and you're just like, "What is going on here? Is this happening?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, this is how awesome this game is because I'm so emotionally invested." And this Haley girl, and then just fishing and going, mining. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, I thoroughly enjoyed Stardew Valley on the PC at the time, and I just feel like Chucklefish, they're doing a great job, and with War Group too. And I got Pocket Rumble. I mean, it was fun for a while. Like I mean, just the fighting game as it is, and yeah. So, Final Fantasy series. And Chucklefish games. Those are my answers.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the Chucklefish hype. I'm down for Inmost, and I've got all 3 games that they have on Switch right now. So yeah,
good stuff. So, Daryl, what is your question for the NJP?
My question, I love asking this, and I love asking this over the time that the Switch has been out because the answers change. My question is. You have a friend who comes up and says, "Hey, I really want to get a Switch. It looks really cool. I have $500. Tell me what games and accessories to buy with my money." So that is my question. I'm just gonna jump right into it. So obviously 300 is, and I'm gonna neglect taxes because nobody wants to do that. So Switch is 300. So you've got basically 200 to play with. So I've got a few options that I would recommend. And you guys can deviate from there. So, in my opinion, you need one of the blockbuster one-player games. So that's Mario Odyssey or Zelda. So you give them an option. You get Mario or Zelda. Then you need one marquee multiplayer game, in my opinion, and I would give them an option of 3, depending on their situation. That would be Smash Brothers Ultimate, or Mario Kart 8, or Splatoon. So take your pick on those based on, and this is a very hard decision. I have my own personal recommendations, but yeah, whatever. That one would actually be very hard. Smash versus Splatoon would be, ouch. Depends on who I'm talking to, I think.
Gotta flip a coin for that. Yeah.
New person coming into it, I actually might go Splatoon there. Anyways, then there's a bunch of smaller, or I guess maybe not smaller, but cheaper games that I would throw at them. And what I would recommend is Rocket League. I think is almost a mandatory if you get the online, which I haven't included in this. Oops.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
And then Celeste, which that should be no real surprise. It was my game of the year last year.
I knew you were gonna include that one. I was like, in this $500, you're gonna include Celeste for sure.
And then one more like marquee like platformer multiplayer game, Rayman Legends actually is generally hovering around $20. I think it is a must play at $20, 1000%. Definitely that. And then that leaves me with $20. So I guess get the online subscription. But no, I'm gonna recommend more games. I have a set of 3. One more decision to make. All of these are $15, so that leaves you $5 to do with it, whatever, Kamiko or Kuso or any of the smaller price but really fun games. But the 3 that I'm looking at are Undertale or Hollow Knight or Stardew Valley. That's a very hard decision too. So
very different games too, though. I guess it depends on what the friend or the person kind of prefers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, in every option, you've kind of got the more laid-back option and then kind of the more hyper options. So the more casual gamer, you probably want to send them the way of like Mario and Mario Kart and Stardew or something like that. The more hardcore people, I would probably send to Zelda and Smash or Splatoon, whichever they have more use for, and Hollow Knight probably. So that's me.
No, that's a pretty great list, man. I mean, you cover a lot of bases too. So I think, I mean, that's if I were a new Switch owner, boom. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of had a lot of similar answers to yours. So I definitely agree that one of the mainline big quote-unquote AAA games should be there. I kind of immediately defaulted to Zelda, but what if the person doesn't like open world? Or what if they just don't like Zelda?
Ooh. I mean, that's
I mean,
no,
I
fair
know,
point, fair point. Yeah.
I know you, Daryl. You said the other one could be Odyssey. I don't know. What else? What would be a third option? What would you consider as another one of those? Or maybe I was just thinking getting like 2 Final Fantasy games.
So I'm gonna make a comment on that. I think that would be a good choice, but it just depends on how grindy it could be. Because I feel like one of the drawbacks of Final Fantasy is like some of the Final Fantasies can be very grindy. But I think that the pro point from that con is that, you know, the fact that you're able to take it anywhere, there's no pressure. I mean, it's a really good game to play on the go. So
and they have
I
like
think,
high speed modes and such like that. Like the games are
Exactly,
actually
yeah.
fairly friendly for.
Mm-hmm.
They've been upgraded to be fairly friendly. So you had me thinking like, I kind of consider Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey kind of the two like S tier like AAA top of the line games. Those are the big cheese, as it were.
Right.
But games to consider if those are just not your style. If you really like platformers, Donkey Kong Country is actually a pretty good choice, I think.
Oh yes.
If you are a fan of the genre already, I think that is. I called it on Reddit today one of the finest crafted ones I've ever seen. So there you go. If you're really into RPGs and you want to play a new one, I think there's a couple good options. I think Octopath is not a bad option.
Yes.
And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is not a bad option at all. Very different games. So
totally, yeah.
but past that, unless you just really like multiplayer, which, I mean, that'd be fine. And I completely forgot Overcooked, which, whoops. You know, the more you go on this, the more options you start giving.
Right. But I think on my list, in the one, I think the biggest key difference against yours, I would sacrifice one major game or a couple of indies to get a pro controller. And my reasoning is that the controller is just amazing. You know, it's solid. It just feels so right. And if you get it, you can use your Joy-Cons to have someone else play with you. So, you know, you're kind of future-proofing your Switch by getting an additional controller, because you already kind of have 2 right off the bat. And then when you have the de facto controller to play most of the games that we're mentioning, I definitely think it's worth it.
Yeah, it was hard for me to leave it off my list. I prioritize games just because I want to give as many games to the person as possible. But yeah, it's that's an amazing controller. It just is.
Yeah, and for sure. And I had this one on my list. I forgot about Kamiko, which is also really good, but Kuzo also. Either of those or any really good $5 game.
Yeah.
And the point that I would tell a friend about is that, yes, there are really good $5 games on here. There's a bunch, and there's gonna be more on the way. So, you know, don't judge a game by the price. These 2 are really good, and there's gonna be more. So I would kind of try to highlight that.
Yeah, especially as games come on sale, like VVVVVV. And there's a few others that drop down to around the $5 to $10 range, and are definitely worth it. So yeah.
Yes.
No, that's as like Daryl's. I mean, that's a great list right there. I mean, you got me thinking too with accessories for sure, because with my list, y'all can beg to differ, but I think it's important to have something that you can use for single Joy-Con experiences. So for me, for a new Switch owner, I think it's good to have what is called the Amazon single Joy-Con grips. And you know, when you watch the Nintendo Switch commercials, you see them playing with single Joy-Cons, right? You know, left and right. And with this Joy-Con grip made by Amazon Basics, I mean, it's just so comfortable in the hand. And like, I think it's just great to have that accessibility, you know, being able to play with 2 players, 1 Joy-Con each on the go. That will impress any new Switch owner, because if you play with the single Joy-Con by itself, it's fairly uncomfortable. I mean, you can make it work with the strap, but I mean, I would spend $12 just to get that set of single Joy-Con grips. So that's for accessories. I have a mix of the games that I would want like for as a new Switch owner, I do agree with both y'all in terms of having, you do want to have like a good AAA marquee game like Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey, but I do think it's important to have a good collection of indie games too. I mean, like I said before, indie games drive the creativity in the gaming industry, and Celeste is a pretty good choice. I would, for a new Switch owner, I'm gonna say I would have like 2-3 indies like Celeste. I would say Golf Story. Golf Story is a pretty awesome game,
Yep.
It's very relaxing. Even if you don't play golf or I've heard of it, like just.
Have you heard of Golf Friend? No.
Sorry, I was trying to say.
Let's take a walk then.
My bad. I was trying to say it in a way where let me step back. I mean, like if you're like a casual person who just knows of golf, even if you are at that I would play Golf Story because the dialogue is really good and it's a pretty good game to get into. I would also recommend Stardew Valley. You can get lost in many hours with that game, and definitely, personally, I would say Splatoon 2 over Super Smash for sure, just because, just having that sort of experience with shooting paint and then having that team-based game, I think for any new Switch owner, it would be very appealing. So, Splatoon 2 over Smash, I would say that. Okay, so I was thinking about this for a bit. Like, if you're maybe not a super new Switch owner, but like maybe if you're really big on accessories, I would suggest the Skull & Co. grip case, which does cost $50 on average. But I mean, it's really good if you play handheld all the time. So if you're a bit more hardcore, then just a casual gamer, I would recommend that. So I would recommend one of the marquee AAA games like Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey, and a good number of indies, and at least 1 or 2 accessories, like such as the Amazon single grip Joy-Con or Amazon Basic single grip Joy-Con, whatever those grip things, and yeah. The Pro Controller, oh gosh, that is a good one, Sergio. I'm gonna leave it out. I will, just for now. But yeah, that's my list. Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to think about how this is gonna change when Mario Maker and Pokemon and Animal Crossing come out. That's when it starts getting a little terrifying.
Yeah,
because we completely neglected some really good games, and that you just have to there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Yeah, no, there is. I mean, gosh, I didn't even say Final Fantasy just because man, I mean there's just so many things to play.
Final Fantasy 7 at $17 or whatever it is. That's a hard one to turn down. That may deserve another shot on my list, to be honest, but I was trying to stick with the newer stuff.
Oh shoot, I totally forgot. I think it is worth it to get Nintendo Switch Online, more so because of the NES catalog. I mean,
that's not a bad choice. Yeah,
it's good to play those old games again, and
Tetris.
Yeah, man. I mean, a battle royale version of Tetris. I mean, hell yeah, no. Oh, and there are free games you can get on the Switch, online. I mean, there's demos you can play, and I mean, No, I was gonna say Into the Breach. Is it free? I forgot. There are some games that were free.
No, it's 15.
It's 15. Okay,
it may have a demo, but it's not free.
Okay, never mind. Well, but yeah,
like Fortnite is, and there's a few other free to play type games on there.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
There you have it. Our list.
What's your question, Kevin?
My question is, here we go. So, what is a video game character that initially you were not really getting into? You didn't understand his or her story. You were trying to figure it out, but you were just puzzled. You didn't know how to relate to this character. But as you've grown older, you start to empathize and understand this character a lot more, and you realize, wow, I can relate to this character in some of the things that he or she has done in the game. So basically, what is a character in a video game where you didn't get initially, but you start to understand him or her later on? I'm gonna start with you, Sergio. What is your answer to that?
So allow me kind of to give two answers. One that comes to mind is Midna from Twilight
Huh.
Princess.
Hmm.
Right from the get-go, she kind of felt annoying to me, and she was kind of mean to Link, and I kind of didn't see right away where things could have been going. I don't know. I For a little while, I kind of didn't really trust her that much either.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it depends how the story went, but yeah, eventually turns out that she's just doing the right thing for her realm, and I love that story in that game. But honestly, I feel like your answer would be more apt for Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, because I clearly remember being annoyed by him and by his attitude in when you're starting the game. Here's the thing though, and this is kind of disappointing, and it does upset me. I don't remember him at all beyond that. So I kind of have this negative view of him, and I cannot tell you if it changed. I kind of think and hope it did. I did play that game and I beat it twice, which makes this even sadder. But
You left an impression, I can tell.
yeah, I feel like after I played that game twice, I did end up liking Squall, but I cannot remember why. I really wish I did.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold on. Sorry. I'm so glad you said that. Anyway, those are pretty good choices. I mean, man, Daryl, what what do you think? What is your
I
who are your
also
characters?
have two choices, and
Yeah.
for the first one, I'm gonna go to a different Final Fantasy game, and I'm gonna land back at 4, and I'm gonna talk about Kain, who I hated the first time I played that game because he was so cool, and then he spoilers of an extremely old game. He betrays you a couple times, like in that in the game, but there's a reason for it, and little me, I didn't care. It didn't matter if there was a reason for it. Hated him. It's terrible. It didn't help that I had used NameWise to actually name him me, like he was Daryl.
Oh.
Whoa.
That did not help things because you couldn't change it once he
That's
betrayed
right.
you. So that was not fun. But on a second playthrough, I actually really understood the character a lot better. So he definitely grew on me. I still, I like him as a character. It still kind of burns me a little bit, but whatever.
Yeah.
But the second one, and the actual real answer to this, and bear with me, is Slippy Toad. When so if you play me in Smash Brothers, you'll see my little icon is a picture of Slippy Toad looking freaked out. I've posted this one before. I do have a little action figure of Slippy Toad with his arms stretched out, like, look at my domain. This is what I do. I don't know why. When I first played Star Fox, I hated him. Oh man, I hated him. I went through the cycle that everybody goes through. Like, you are the most useless character in this entire console. You're terrible. But as I've grown up, he just makes me laugh. Like, he started actually just making me laugh every time he says anything. Fuck, save you. Oh man, it cracks me up. So yeah, as far as like actual esteem of a character, man, like, not gonna happen, but if he were to end up in Smash, I would freak out. Like, I'd be so excited for stupid Slippy Toad. I don't know why. I don't. But yeah, there's the story of the Smash Brothers icon. Just because every time I see him, hear him, anything, I start laughing. So there you go.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's Slippy Toad is definitely a very memorable character. I mean, I think he's the most memorable in Star Fox. Like, him and Peppy, but yeah,
And Falco.
And Falco.
And,
Okay,
and Fox.
They're all memorable, but
and
I really
wolf
do like
guy.
Oh man, oh
Star
my
Fox has
both
great
down.
characters. Turns out, who knew?
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, great choices. I too have two answers. The first one is Edgar Figaro from Final Fantasy VI. He just had this confidence about him that, I don't know, it seemed kind of strange because like he was such a womanizer, a ladies' man. And when I first played when I first played Final Fantasy 6 when I was a lot younger, I didn't really get it. I was like, oh, this is kind of strange. And I mean, he was just hitting on every like woman and lady, and like I guess for me at the time, I was still going through my pre-adolescent years, so or even before that, I was like, oh, I mean, cool, I guess. I mean, maybe I'll understand later on in my life, but whatever. It didn't really attach to me until later on, after puberty. But then when there was one thing that even when I was a lot younger that really caught my eye was when, and the spoiler alert, sorry guys, but when he made the sacrifice to, rule the kingdom that he has,
right,
and give his brother that freedom, with a double-sided coin. I mean, whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, like that just that hits you really hard. It's like, wow, that is real sacrifice. And for me, it's like, man, like I just thought it was incredible. And later on, it had more of an effect on me because I was like, like when you get older, you don't get everything you want, and you have to make sacrifices, and I think for me, it's like, wow, like going back to that game. And sometimes I even watch the YouTube videos of like just that scene where you find out of the sacrifice he made just from playing it when I was a kid, and it's incredible. Like, wow, like this guy is, he's not a bad guy. He's not an annoying character. Like this guy is actually a really committed person. So, albeit he has his personality, which is fine. I mean, now I realize that everybody's got different ways of expressing themselves. Whether they're talking to the ladies or gentlemen, whatever. So,
hey girl,
albeit within respectable boundaries. Okay, so, but my more important answer is what Sergio has alluded to, or not alluded to, like he actually talked about Squall, and I will answer your question, Sergio, of why you like Squall in the end, but you don't know. But I can explain it. So, spoiler alert again. When Squall was growing up, he grew up in an orphanage, and it were ironically with the characters that you get to play with later on, like Irvine, Selphie, Zell, Quistis, even Safer. And there was one point in his life where his so-called, well, I would say biological sister, Alone, if I'm pronouncing it right, she was taken away for whatever reason, like because of her mysterious powers of time compression and all that. And the Squall didn't know that. He's a little kid. He didn't know why she was taken away. And when she was taken away from the orphanage, he just realized, wow, like, I don't want to have that feeling ever again of just having someone, like, just leave without any reasoning. And so he went through this stage where, he didn't know how to deal with, people leaving his side. And as he grew up, became a seed, SEE, capital D. He just had this personality where he didn't want to be close to anybody. He was very introverted, but you didn't know why. Like when you started playing a game, you didn't know why he was like that. He was just saying like whatever, and he was talking to himself all the time.
Right.
But you realize, oh my gosh, he's talking to himself all the time because he does care about people, but he doesn't know how to express it because of that tragic event where his that very important person, Alone, just got taken away for whatever reason, and he didn't know it when he was a kid. And those sort of things affected the way he is, and he has this toughness about him. There's this girl that obviously likes him a lot, Renoa, which you get to play later on, and
Yes.
and then he starts to realize like, wow, I have these people around me. I love this girl, but I don't know how to express myself in a way where
Right.
she can understand my feelings because I just have all this stuff that I can't even like Squall had a hard time expressing himself, and I think, and I thought it was incredible the way that Final Fantasy VIII portrayed it because even with just his own like monologue, talking to himself, like I just thought it was genius, like just because I feel like for me personally, I've gone through that phase too, where I talk to myself, or I think to myself like, man, like just these different scenarios of what could have been, or like did I make the right decision, stuff like that, and I think that's what makes Squall a likable character because he is relatable later on in the game. So,
Man.
I don't know if that answers the question, but
No, for sure. In this backstory, that's explained in the game itself. I just don't remember.
it was a very brief moment for sure. Like, I think they could have done it a bit better. But they,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like it was just, I think it was like a 1-2 minute thing, cutscene, and it's important to understand that with this game, with Squall and Leonhardt, we go through these times where we'll have tragic events that happen, and depending on what it was, it could affect the way we are today, and we just have to be able to figure out like, okay, well, that happened in my life. What can I do to, be more likable? Be somebody that I could be proud of being. And I think it's a never ending journey. And so I think that's why I love Final Fantasy VIII, just because you just have this character who very complex, depressed, and just
Yes.
really thinks that nobody cares about him. Nobody cares about him. But in reality, people do. Like, and there's a lot of firsts that he did, like being able to be a leader in Balam Garden and speak to his fellow comrades to calm them down and let them know, hey, we can fight through this. I mean,
Right.
And if you know Squall, like that is very unheard of for that kind of character, and for him to grow into that role, and you see that progression. I mean, that's why Final Fantasy VIII is the most important Final Fantasy for me, because of that character, because of Squall. So
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say it's a shame that it's just not coming to the Switch. 7 is great. 9 is really good. 8, I think 8 stands right there with 7 in my view. I loved 8.
Yeah, no, me too. And it's just I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but like there are parts of Squall that I can relate to. I think just just the way he is, and just the going through that grind, that struggle. So yeah, it was interesting that you mentioned Squall earlier today. I was like, oh yes. Yeah. Anyway, that is my long-winded answer.
No, but thanks. You explained it to me.
Nice.
So yeah, that concludes our NJP questions. Man, we definitely got into that one, or into these 3.
Yeah, and definitely sign out in the Discord if you have strong opinions about Squall or anybody else. Love to hear from you guys and actually have a conversation in there. So yeah, definitely join our Discord and let us know what you think.
For sure.
Well, it is time to jump out of here. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us and an awesome Nintendo gaming community, you can join our Discord group. The description of this episode has a link to it if you would like to join. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter and on Instagram as Nintendo Jump, and we also have a Facebook group. Our episodes are on YouTube. Feel free to leave us a comment about anything we discussed today or any topics that you would like for us to discuss in the future. You can send us your feedback via social media or via email at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, the best way to do so is through our Patreon. That's patreon.com/NintendoJump. Another way to support would be by leaving a review for this show in your favorite podcast app. We would really appreciate it. This is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl and Kevin, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys. I don't know when this became a thing. This is a thing now.
Final Fantasy VIII battle thing.
Yeah, we know. Bye.
Bye.